Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Good evening, everybody. It's Happy Friday. It's Friday the 15th, and it's a beautiful summer day here in the Northwest. Welcome. Thank you for being with us at patreon.com, and to all of you that enjoy the Discord chat room. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the comments, and everybody just seems to be having a good time in there. And we have Super Samson's articles that are phenomenal, and we have our dear Gigi. She rocks it by keeping the room moving along. I like it. So anyway, look, today's information, well, actually over the last couple of days, there's been a lot of information for the last couple of days. We had a lot of stuff from Malalock. We had numerous articles from them. We had some articles from the IFC. We had articles from that talked about Oliver Wyman. We'd have articles today that talked about Rafidain Bank and K2 having a partnership. All of these things that have been coming together. We got an article today too also about the Kurdistan regional oil, right? And I think what we have there is basically going to be the agreement they took place. I think it was July 17th or something like that. And anyway, the bottom line is now it's supposedly in al-Sudani's hands or the government, right? Because even Turkey's ready to go. They said that they're ready for oil. And so they have an agreement that they must have restructured the agreement between Baghdad or at least al-Sudani is reviewing what Turkey's offered. So anyway, this article says Baghdad and Erbil agree on a new mechanism for exporting Kurdistan regional oil. It says this final agreement was signed by delegations from Baghdad and Erbil and includes a memorandum of understanding that will pave the way for ending the export suspension crisis that cost Iraqi billions of dollars in losses. And I'm pretty sure that when they say billions, we're talking tens of billions. It says this agreement will contribute to the storage of oil delivered by the regional government to the Ministry of Oil and be the main center for receiving and storing. Sorry about that, you guys. Winnie likes to eat the microphone, and yeah, well, so she's growing up. That's what cats do. Okay, but anyway, I talked about billions of dollars in losses, and that's for sure. The agreement will contribute to the storage of oil delivered by the regional government to the Ministry of Oil. We all know that, and it says that. But before receiving or storing the oil before pumping, it says the Turkish port of Ceyhan export. The agreement will enter into force in the coming days, and so that was yesterday. After which, exports are supposed to resume. So hopefully, yes, I was right too about July 17th. This article is going to be in Patreon. Over the next few days, we're going to see if there's a big difference to the playing field. Let's see if they have a solid agreement, because we don't know if they have a solid agreement just yet. But we have Baghdad and Erbil on July 17th suggesting that that's to be true. And then all of a sudden we have Turkey sending over some data to the government so that they can change that agreement they had since, I think it was 1973. It's been almost over 50 years, right? So anyway, I would imagine with Development Road Project, all of those things taking into consideration what central bank's been doing, what all of the financial institutions in the world have been doing with Iraq, all the companies that are coming in to do business, very large companies. I think we still have coming up in next month, we're going to have in the early part, you're going to have some really big business names that are going to be having a 2-day conference. I think it's on the 7th and the 9th. But ahead of all that, we have Oliver Wyman says that there is going to be a back wall for the banking institutions to be hooked up and ready to go. Yes, and there has been some news about 10 banks, and there's been some news about how it may negatively affect the environment. But if you think about it, those 10 banks very well may be associated with other countries. They're private banks from other countries that have some problems. And of course, citizens may get hurt from that, and I wish them the best, and I hope that doesn't happen. But remember what the central bank governor did say, or his office did say, that they'll have some leniency. And so they're willing to, if you can get up to international standards, allow you to work. But if you get past that date of the August 31st, you're probably not going to be able to do business, which is going to harm you too. And so if you're not doing very well, it's going to make it even a little more painful for you. But if you do agree and open up your books, do accurate reporting, get in line, answer the questions that are necessary with documentation, those banks can still get hooked up and do business into the future, which I think would probably be a good idea, because Iraq is in its infancy in this new stage. And to me, the new stage is that they're integrating into the global financial system. Interestingly enough, I don't know if anybody's really talked about it, and I haven't talked about it, publicly or not, but one of the things that's in my back of my mind that we're going to maybe see a surprise, because Iran, for instance, is one of Iraq's largest trading partners. And yes, we've had sanctions and we have some conflict in the Middle East and everything. But there's two things that I'm going to talk about tonight. And I believe I have it set up here, is that I think it's been 10 days to 2 weeks ago that they had an article that came out. It could be a little bit longer than that, but it doesn't matter. That wasn't focused in on the first one, but there's two articles about Iran removing 4 zeros and adopting the Toman and the Quran, how you pronounce it. But one of the things that's interesting in here, and it's just no different than Iraq, is that my belief is that Iraq's case, one of the reasons why I've been around a long time is because that I know that they were going to talk about coinage in Iraq again. And if they're going to talk about coinage and they're going to revalue and drop 3 zeros from the exchange rate, there's going to be there's utility in that. Even if they do go digital, they're still going to need a medium of exchange, which is currency. I don't think you're ever going to get rid of that, but obviously a lot less of it, a lot less minting, a lot less printing of paper, but because it's mostly going to be digital, whether we like it or not, but that's what's happening, and we're already doing it anyway. Every time you swipe a card, that's less cash that they have to print, because it's all digital. Deposit your check, you get paid from work, and you go to the grocery store and you swipe your card. No cash. Now you can get cash back, but whatever. But anyway, in this particular case, we're talking about Iran and Iraq. But one of the reasons why I believe there might be a surprise is because that there's pressure on Iran, and it has to do with global sanctions, and it has to do with not just the United States. It's manifesting into other countries in Europe and other places that I believe are going to be on board. I think Germany and other countries in Europe may very well be on board if that they don't play by the rules and start doing things like in an international manner, like Iraq's getting ready to do. They're just going to keep getting worse. That's all. But if in fact that the United States and partners come together and get Iran to the table to where that they agree to do things, they very well may be a surprise. So why I bring up coins? Coins equal value, right? They're going to drop 4 zeros off their currencies, so they say, and Iraq is going to drop 3 zeros as far as I'm concerned from the Delete the Zeros project. So they're trading partners, that kind of leveling the playing field. If you look at the value of the Iranian rial and the Toman in comparison to the dinar, there's a big spread. So if they can bring that in together and do the same thing at or around the same time, that might be a surprise. So Iran's moving toward a historic change in its national currency, removing 4 zeros and adopting the Toman and the Quran. It says the Iranian cabinet approved a plan to remove 4 zeros from the national currency on Sunday evening on August 10th, adopting the Toman as the main monetary unit and the Quran as a subsidiary monetary unit. It says it was based on the part of and effort to simplify financial transactions to reduce the cost of printing banking notes and improve the currency's image domestically and internationally. Okay. It says they're stressing that the Toman will officially replace the rial, so that's a big difference, while the historical Quran will return as a subunit of the currency divided into 1/100th of a Toman. So 1/100th of a Toman seems similar to, we have 100 pennies to the dollar. So I'm not giving a rate. I'm just saying that's what it's similar. Okay, supporters of the decision believe that removing the zeros will facilitate daily calculations. Of course it will. Provide a psychological boost to citizens' confidence in their currency, while critics warn that the change will be merely cosmetic, if not supported by radical economic reforms. Well, if it brings confidence, you bring in coins, I think it's usually going to have some confidence. But obviously, are they going to be allowed into the global market system with no sanctions or not? That's where the surprise may come. Basically, it says it's an important step to improve the image of the Iranian rial in global markets. So, yeah, everybody's watching. So everybody's concerned at this stage. It isn't just the United States and or Israel. It's a lot of different countries, and we'll see how this turns out. But all right, it says authorities are currently studying the financial costs of printing new banknotes, and it says coins. That's, to me, was a trigger to me. Okay, here's an article, I think it was out yesterday. It says, Rouhani, reducing tensions with the U.S. is a must if it serves Iran's interests. Maybe this leads into the to the surprise. Former Iranian President Hassan Rouhani called on Wednesday, August 13, 2025, in his first statement in more than a month and a half since the ceasefire between Iran and Israel, to reconsider foreign policy and strengthen Tehran's relations with the world. He goes on and says the need to establish a popular intelligence service that includes the participation and support of all 90 million citizens, in addition to reforming the structure of the official media and opening the way for private television channels alongside government channels to ensure the people's voice is heard through multiple channels. So if you guys know that there's been some problems shutting down the media, shutting down the internet, targeting people, targeting women, all kinds of different things, and it's not good. So hopefully this gentleman, the former president, has a voice again. And if he hasn't spoken about it since that period of time, obviously he feels compelled to do so. But here it says, distancing the armed forces from economic advertising and political activities inside and outside the country, and limiting their tasks to their basic duties. In other words, yank the military out of the media and swaying public opinion. That's how I see that. It says, warning that failure to formulate and implement a new national strategy based on the will of the people may expose the country to new crises in the future. So in other words, if you don't take care of your people, you might have more crisis on the way. And it's not like you haven't had enough for quite a long time. So hopefully, God willing, that they'll take care of business, and maybe we should see a surprise there. Whether it benefits any one of us or not is to be determined. But I would like to see that peace in the Middle East would be a good thing. I think trading partners like the size of Iran and Iraq are going to be a good thing, and that's not going to go away. What that pilgrimage that went through Iraq, I think, totaled about 4 million people. That's an annual basis. That's a lot of money for Iraq. And a lot of the economy. Could you imagine 4 million people showing up into your local city for 3 days? I mean, businesses will be booming. Restaurants will be overflowing. Hotels will be packed. Same thing with Iraq. Okay. And so here we'll shift topics for a second, and it says the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq meets with the International Finance Corporation's representative in Iraq. It says the governor of Central Bank met with representative International Finance Corporation. His name is Safir. It says that they discussed strengthening bilateral relations. Central Bank of Iraq and International Finance Corporation, basically, they're talking about the importance of the cooperation between the two parties, especially in the field of training bank cadres in Iraq. And the two parties intend to sign a memorandum of understanding in regard to this next phase. So they're talking about this next phase. So who is IFC? Well, they're an arm of the World Bank. Okay, so it says the governor of a central bank establishes a leasing financing company with local and foreign contribution, is one of the financial systems used to provide financing for projects, major projects, you guys, and individuals without the need to purchase assets directly as an industrial machinery and equipment, vehicles, offices, and warehouses. It says this proposal is supported by startups and small and medium-sized enterprises that are looking for easy and flexible financing. Well, we all know that the small and medium-sized enterprises are the backbone of the economy. And so they know that, and it's always been part of the plan. I mean, it goes all the way back to the beginning of this whole process was the IMF, World Bank, and everybody, IFC, have been focusing in on small, medium-sized enterprises and the financing of that. One of the things you guys got to remember too is financing big projects needs insurance. So keep that in mind. Big investors are not going to go invest if they don't have insurance. So it says the two parties discussed the importance of implementing the banking reform plan that's been implemented by the central bank and with the assistance of Oliver Wyman within international standards, and it would raise the sobriety of the banking sector internationally and restore the capacity of a group of Iraqi banks for international transactions. And so ultimately, that's what they've been doing. They've been putting together all these banks, getting them hooked up with international correspondent banks so that they can do international cross-border trade. And that is where this is all headed. It's, in my view, the IFC is geared to do international business. That's what they do. That's what the World Bank does. And again, it's an arm of the World Bank. But with Oliver Wyman being involved and that the three are having this meeting with the central bank, talking about Oliver Wyman, and we're talking about the International Financial Corporation, all of those things on the table, it is likely because everything's coming around just fine. It's just moving forward. Do banking reforms have some loose ends like those few banks? I think there was 5 or 10. But you know what? Oliver Wyman put a back wall out there for the end of this month on the 31st. Is it necessary for Iraq to go out that far? Wyman did not say it's going to be a specific thing that has to happen on the 31st. This gives them time. Are they already ready? Were they ready yesterday? Were they ready today? I don't know. But the 31st is what they have to be in line. Those others that don't make it, then they're going to have to, hopefully, if they don't get liquidated, they can keep moving forward with their reform process, but they're just not going to be able to do the international business yet. So let's see what happens. Here's another article. It's called "The Economic Expert Proposes Amending the Criteria for Iraqi Banking Reform." And again, Al-Alaq reveals a comprehensive plan for banking reform, and he's counting on the media's important role in clarifying the issue in a transparent, accurate manner. So he's talking to the media. And he explains, among the proposals submitted by the specialists to the central bank governor is to allow some banks to operate internally under the direct supervision of the bank, while the remaining banks apply international standards with partners such as Oliver Wyman. To my point, there's going to be some banks that will, again, be allowed to operate internally in the country, just not internationally. And so, therefore, I think it's pretty powerful. Basically, this will maintain balance between reform requirements and the capabilities of Iraqi banks and ensure the protection of the interests of local and international investors and those working in the sector. So it's all about protection. It says Al-Alaq held a meeting on Tuesday with international company Oliver Wyman to discuss the details of the reform plan that were submitted by the Iraqi Private Banks Association. So having quality media coverage is very important for Iraq's reputation. Central bank and banks take reputational risk very seriously during reform progression. They take it very seriously. You can look up reputational risk for banks quite simply. You can Google it, use whatever software you want or platform. I think you'll find that it's really kind of important. But all I can say is Al-Alaq's been making clear steps to have success in the reforms, and I think it's really a big thing. I think it's a good thing, and I think it's quite clear that everybody's pushing forward. So, of course, here's another one. It's the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq receives a delegation from the Islamic Corporation for the Insurance of Investment and Export Credit, which is called the IFC-EIC. So I've done a lot of research, you guys, and used a lot of articles to get information by bringing in questions with facts and data. And you'll be surprised on how confident I am that the redenomination, revaluation, and applying a real effective exchange rate is. Again, back to Iraq, coins, that means value. It means that they're going to have a powerful exchange rate. Go back to al-Sudani. He said something to the effect that the dinar will be stronger than the dollar. And I think it's going to hold true. But that's not what we're talking about here. It says the governor of the central bank, he receives the Islamic Corporation Insurance of Investment and Export. It says, His Excellency discussed strengthening cooperation between the two parties in addition to presenting a study by the corporation in the field of loan insurance for foreign and investment companies, which cover the financing of major strategic projects with the Iraqi government. And it goes on and praise the remarkable progress that they've taken and they've done. And basically, they're looking to expand the role of Islamic Development Bank in financing projects. Development Road Project is, again, it's not going away. So anyway, I got some snippets from part of my work. It says the CBI's engagement with the ICIEC, subsidiary of the Islamic Bank, it's called the ISDB. It says to strengthen cooperation, explore loan insurance for foreign investment companies, funding major strategic projects within Iraq government. It says the delegation praised Iraq's progress across these sectors. It goes on and says the CBI's 2025 banking reform document, guided by Oliver Wyman with an August 31st deadline, aims to align, what's it for? It aims to align with international standards to rebuild trust, enable correspondent banking relationships. There was an article that was about the Carmel-Zag Trader Partnership, which was in, I think it was in the IBC News, but on the 12th. It says further modernizing Iraq's financial market with AI-driven, anti-money laundering compliant electronic trading, and basically these reforms are all critical for a redenomination as they prepare banks to handle cash inflows, 80% of currency outside banks, and boost investors' confidence. So that's what all this is about. So many of these things is all about the process of reforms, the government's plan. And here again, it says the ICEC meeting underscores Iraq's growing financial stability and international integration, as the delegation notes. Noticeable progress in various sectors, and one of those noticeable things in progress is stability. Because why? Because it enhances investment opportunities, and it aligns with the CBI's reform goals and supports the foundation for redenomination by signaling a stable investment and friendly environment. Loan insurance, for instance, for strategic projects could attract foreign capital, reducing reliance on cash-based transactions, complementing efforts to draw 80% of currency outside the banking system. And it goes on. It says the security permits platform, which is noted on August 12th, ensures secure cash handling critical for managing a currency swap during a redenomination. The CIEC support for project financing strengthens the broader financial ecosystem, making a redenomination more feasible by fostering trust and economic activity. Basically, it says boosting investor confidence, international ties. It says what I talked about, it says I emphasize, because this is a conversation, the CBI needs to rebuild public and international trust. Yeah, I talked about that. It goes on and says the growing investment in Iraq, well, back to the Carmel-Zag Trader Initiative, aims to boost investors' confidence through transparent global standard trading. So global standard trading, that's the platform. So again, back to what I said on one of my videos, is that Zag Trader is going to be a platform where if everybody follows the options that Oliver Wyman gave out, they'll be able to get that capital, that 300 to 400 billion dinars that they need in capital for their banks to have liquidity. They can sell shares on this platform to get that liquidity. it's all tied in. It's fascinating. It's totally fascinating, and they're very key, important components. I'll go into another one here that's the ICIEC's praise for Iraq's stability and its focus on loan insurance. It says it's crucial for redenomination. It's public participation because why? Because it'll be by them being able to buy shares, they'll be able to be what? Depositing cash to buy those. Okay, and what does it depend on? It depends on trust in the financial system, which the security permits platform supports by securing cash flows. And it goes on and says, during one of my previous conversations, it goes back to the August 7th, it says it discussed efforts to increase non-oil revenues via systems like ICE-Qatar, which doubled customs earnings from 900 billion dinars in 2023 to 1.9 trillion dinars in 2024, reducing oil dependency 90% of revenue. It says that diversification supports economic stability, which is a prerequisite to redenomination. Documents, it says, ICIEC documents relevance. Why is this relevant? It says the ICIEC, God, I'm sorry, tongue twisted everybody. I'm just going to call it ICI. Okay, support for financing strategic projects could diversify Iraq's economy further by attracting foreign investment, aligning with the non-oil revenue goals. This strengthens the financial system, making redenomination more viable by reducing cash-based economic activity and supporting the security permits platform's role in handling cash. So anyway, that's kind of a lot in one, in brief setup, and I'm just going to try to wind this down. But here, this article is basically about Rafadain signs an agreement with an American company in the field of financial consulting and control. There's a lot of negative news out there, and one of the negative news out there was someone's having a problem with Rafadain Bank, and you guys might want to read it. But my view is Rafadain Bank in this particular case shows me that just because we get a news article that has a negative tone to it, they put negative news out all the time. They're warned all the time for putting out negative news that isn't technically relevant. And it's harming the citizens, and it's scaring the citizens. And I think stuff like that's done on purpose, especially those that may know that a revaluation, redenomination, etc. is coming, is because they don't want it to happen. And they can exploit it if they can. Anyway, Rafadain Bank announced on Friday the signing of a professional partnership agreement with an American company in the field of financial consulting and control. Okay? It says this gentleman, Karim Hussein Al-Fatlawi, it says that he was at the U.S. Embassy from Washington. It says in a new strategic step that reflects Iraq's growing financial position in the international arena. So it's growing financial position in the international arena. The headquarters of the Embassy of the Republic of Iraq in Washington witnessed the signing of a professional partnership between Rafadain Bank and K2 Integrity, the world's leading company in the field of financial and supervisory consulting. So do you think if these guys would sign a deal if they thought Rafadain Bank wasn't up to snuff? I don't think so. Basically, it says this cooperation comes from within Iraq's government strategy to build a strong and transparent financial sector capable of keeping pace with global economic transformations and consolidating Iraq's position as a promising financial center in the region. Really? So one of the largest entities in the world, Wyman, one of the largest entities in their field in the world, working with Iraq. So some of this negative news, take it from the source. This is what they're talking about. Okay, he points out that this partnership represents a qualitative leap in the path of banking reform. The agreement will contribute to enhancing confidence in Iraqi banks, opening wider horizons for cooperation with correspondent banks around the world in support of the government's objectives in building a strong, transparent, and compatible financial sector with the international best practices in mind. The Rafadain Bank is the top global company to help facilitate the transitional process into the international financial and banking system. I think that's spot on. I think that's exactly what's happening. It's going to broaden the bank's horizons with more correspondent banks. We know that the correspondent banks aren't a new topic. They've been working on this for a couple of years now. So we're at that new phase, as they call it, okay? All of this is about the government program. And to be fair, the congressman that was doing some blustering about Rafidain Bank, I think that's what it was. I think it's blustering. And as what is the definition of that? Probably a lot of hot wind. But hey, he's a United States congressman, no disrespect. But anyway, tonight, you guys, I think that what you can see is that all the studies, the last couple of videos I've done, and all the data that we have has been focused in on Iraq still moving forward with the government plan. End of story. That integration is a big component of it. All of the steps that these articles that we've had from the central bank and all the stuff that Oliver Wyman and K2, Ernst & Young, all of that is to get Iraq integrated into the global financial system. I've talked about interconnectivity. It still holds true. It's about a timing mechanism. I'm fairly sure with this amount of data that we have on that, it's probably going to hold true to some degree. So let's see what happens. Let's see how these banks work. Let's see if the oil flows. Let's see if that Article 12.2c gets exposed through the what was put in print in the Gazette was the Gazette number 4833. It had two components: internal regulation and for the finance minister, right? And then it had a component that was for the Central Bank of Iraq, for the financial lists. We've talked about all that. The 2023-2024 budget. 23 has to be reconciled. 24 is reconciled. If it's in law now, then we should be seeing. Tabe Sammy said she was going to disclose that to bring the budget tables for 2025. And that hasn't happened, but she did say it was going to be in August. And August is coming to a close. Those are what they say. So hope you guys enjoy it. I think it's powerful news. And I appreciate you being with me. If you like it, hit subscribe. And of course, hit the like button. And then, of course, too, every one of you that helps keep this channel going, it's much appreciated. And you know, Zelle, Venmo, and PayPal does wonders, makes it simple and easy to take care of people. Thank you very much. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.